What's up, guys? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision. Two things. I know I said I was going to have the PSE EVL review this week, but we actually sold like the 4 that we got in already before I could do a review on them. So I have more coming, should drop next week. The second thing is that I'm not in the usual setting here. I'm in my living room because we had my boss was doing some stuff after hours. I didn't want to be there till 8 o'clock. So I'm coming to you live from the living room. So today's video is actually going to be what to look for if you're buying a used bow. We always talk on here about what to look for in a new bow, but this was actually prompted by a number of people that have come in the last few weeks who just purchased, whether it was a used bow online or from somebody on Craigslist or whatnot, and we could not make it work because there were no longer parts available, and they were unaware of that before buying the bow. So really there's two things that you want to make sure are going to work for you, and that is that the draw length is either at the draw length you need or has the ability to be adjusted to that draw length. And a lot of people will say when you're buying a bow, like let's say it's set at 28 inches and you need 29.5 inches. A lot of people just, it's just out of not knowing, but they'll just say, oh yeah, you can just buy some modules, or yeah, you can adjust the draw length to whatever you need. And a lot of times that is not true, especially with bows, any bow that was made like pre-2015-ish, and even some newer than that. So a really prime example of this are the older Hoyts. So like this is this is a Vulcan. I think this was new in like 2008. And Hoyt in particular, with all of their bows that had the cam-and-a-half system, which goes all the way back to I think like probably 2004, 2005. They do have the ability to change draw lengths, but only a certain amount on each cam size. So for example, this is a number 3 cam. This was the longest cam they made. So this cam would go from like 28 inches out to 30 inches. And then they had a number 2 cam that would go from like 25.5 out to 28 inches using these little bolt-on modules on the cam here. Now, the problem is a lot of people, they don't know what to look for. So the person will say, oh yeah, like it's at 28, you can take it out to 29. But it's actually number 2 cam on the Hoyt, and it's already as long as it will go. So if you look on the cam, it will usually say something that will tell you like, a couple letters and then 3, or on the module will say 3A or 3B. Module A, B, C, D, and E are all half-inch increments, one longer than the next. And you kind of got to do your research on it. You need to look Hoyt. If you can Google Hoyt, whatever model bow, you should be able to find some information on what cam number you need to go to your draw length. The other problem is that a lot of times they no longer manufacture the correct modules that you might need. So even if it is the right cam number, like let's say, it's a 3 cam at 29 and you need 30 inches, the chances of your pro shop or anybody having those modules is very, very slim, and Hoyt will not make them for you anymore. It's really frustrating, as a consumer or a buyer when you get something that you think you're gonna be able to make work and it will not. And then on top of that, even if they do have the module, Hoyts specifically take different string lengths for different number of cams. So even if I can find a set of cams and modules that will go to my draw length, like let's say I buy a bow that has a number 2 cam and I can find a set of number 3s with the correct module. When I put those cams on that new bow, 2 things are gonna happen. One, it's gonna decrease the peak poundage because the limbs are certain deflections based on the cam size. And then you're also gonna have to buy new strings. So by the time you buy the bow, then you buy new cams and you buy new strings, you're pretty much at the price of a new bow already. Matthews is the same way with a lot of their old single cam bows. So like, the Switch, the Switchback, the Outback, the Creed, the Reason, the Z3, those are actually draw length specific cams. So again, if I buy a bow that's 28 inches and I need 29, I have to buy a whole new cam. Now you don't need new strings with that, but Matthews is going to charge you like 150 bucks for a new set of cam, or for a new cam. Then you're going to have to pay somebody to install it. And again, by the time everything's said and done, now you're 3/4 of the way to the price of just a new bow to begin with, and you've got one that's 10 years old. So you really got to pay attention to the draw length when you're buying it. If it's not the correct draw length, you need to either call your local pro shop or do a little research and make sure that it's still possible to get that bow to the draw length if you wish to spend the money to do so. Hoyts in particular are really hard like that because after about 5 years of a model's release date, they stop manufacturing parts for it. So unless you're the original owner and it's a warranty issue, Hoyt is not going to machine or manufacture a new cam or a new module for you. So if you can't find it, you're just out of luck. Now Matthews is a little different. Matthews, literally, you could rebuild a bow from like their first one in 1991. You could rebuild like an MQ1. They have a whole section of their factory that is dedicated specifically to manufacturing parts of old bows. But like I said, it's a lot of the time, unless it's just exactly what you're looking for already in terms of draw length and draw weight and everything, by the time you spend the money to make it fit you and be safe to shoot again, you're probably not really worth buying the used bow anymore. You're probably better off buying even a newer mid-range bow is probably going to shoot better and faster than like a 10-year-old bow that was top of the line when it came out. So that's the most important thing. The second most important thing is the strings. So like on this bow, I have not shot this bow since probably 2009. And although the strings don't look that bad, I would not feel comfortable drawing this bow. And that's because kind of like old fishing line, like monofilament will get brittle over time, even if it's not used, even if it's just sitting in your closet. If you try to tie a hook on there and you pull that knot tight, the line just snaps. And the same can happen with bowstrings. Especially if the bow is been stored in like a garage or an attic, even if it's in a case, that hot cold fluctuation from different seasons. And then, like here in Oregon, our winters are incredibly humid and our summers are really dry. So the temperature combined with the humidity fluctuation just wreaks havoc on your strings over time. If I was to shoot this, I would guess that I might get 10 or 12 shots before one of these things pops. Honestly, I just keep this bow because I killed some cool animals with it, and I don't know. I just never wanted to give it up. I loved this bow and I had it, but this is not one that I'm going to be shooting. I'm not taking this as like a backup bow or anything. It's more of just a piece of nostalgia at this point for me. So definitely things to pay attention to when you're buying your new bows, or buying a used bow, excuse me. There's a lot of really good used bows out on the market. There's a lot of good information on them. So if you do have any questions, you can either call your pro shop, you can call us at the Bow Rack in Springfield, and we should be able to steer you in the right direction. A prime example of this the other day, which actually prompted this video in specific, was we had this like 15-year-old kid who came in. He just bought a used Obsession bow from the pawn shop. So Obsession's been, I think Martin bought them. I might be wrong on that, but they're no longer, the model he bought was when it was a completely different company, basically owned by different people. We're not a dealer, so we don't have any old parts for any of the bows. And we were looking online and we could not find the modules to make that bow fit him anywhere, like on eBay or third-party sales or distributors or whatever. So he's obviously going to keep looking, but right now he's just out like $400. And you could just see that he was so excited about it and then just completely deflated, like all the air out of his sails. And unfortunately, buying at a pawn shop like that, all sales are final. He might be able to go back and they'll buy it from him for a third of what he paid for it. But again, without doing your research, you stand a really good chance of just being up the creek without a paddle. So pay attention to those things. If you have any questions on that, like I said, give us a call. Hit me up in the comment section below. Like I said, there's a lot of good used bows out there, but you can get screwed if you don't know what you're looking for when you're buying. So keep that in mind. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us out. And until next time, remember, precision is a decision. Keep them in the middle, and I'll see you on the range.